She walked into that room in her wedding dress. And what she found, nobody prepared her for. I am going to tell you exactly what happened. Not the version that softens it. The version that ended a marriage before the cake was cut. But first, one detail. One detail that changes everything before the story even begins. The person in that room with her husband was not a stranger. That person had been in her life for 6 years. In every photograph. At every dinner table. Standing at the altar that same afternoon, smiling, while she walked down the aisle toward a man who was already somewhere else entirely. She did not scream. She did not cry. She picked up a microphone in front of 150 people. And she said 7 words. 7. And every single person in that room went silent. I need you to stay until the end. Because those 7 words, the thing she actually said, is not where you think it is in this story. Comes right at the end. And when it does, every single moment before it will make sudden, devastating, perfect sense. Her name is Maya. And her wedding day lasted exactly 4 hours.
Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Before you go any further, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. Whether you're tuning in from the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, South Africa, or anywhere else, it truly means a lot to know you're here. I always enjoy seeing just how far this community reaches, and your presence here makes these stories even more meaningful.
Maya Thompson is 28 years old when this story begins. Not begins with the wedding. Begins with the barbecue. The kind of barbecue where someone always brings expensive wine, and someone always brings grocery store potato salad, and everyone pretends both belong on the same table. A mutual friend's back garden. A Saturday in late June that was warm enough to stay outside but not so warm that anyone was uncomfortable. The specific pleasantness of a day that has not yet asked anything of you. Maya is the kind of woman who sits at the back of meetings and says nothing, then sends an email afterward with everything everyone missed. The kind who notices things not because she is suspicious by nature but because she pays attention. She grew up in a regular house. 2 working parents. A younger brother who left for university and became someone she missed more than she expected. A dog named Cinnamon who lived to be 17 and died the week she got her first real job. And whom she still thinks about on quiet Sunday mornings. She works hard. Not to prove anything. Because she genuinely likes the feeling of finishing something difficult. Her coworkers call her steady. Not the loudest voice. Not the flashiest presence. But when something needs to actually get done, everyone looks at Maya. Jordan Cole is 29. He is standing near the grill when she sees him first. Real estate developer. Young enough that people still ask how long he has been in the business, old enough that the answer is longer than you think. He has a short fade haircut maintained with the care of a man who takes details seriously. Clean stubble. A confidence that reads as earned rather than performed. He is arguing with someone about property values in a way that should be insufferable but is somehow interesting. He uses his hands when he talks. Maya notices his hands. And then he turns around and sees her. His whole face changes. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that anyone else in that garden notices. Just a small shift. The specific adjustment of a man who was in the middle of one conversation and has suddenly found himself in the beginning of a completely different one. He apologizes for being loud. He explains that he is passionate about the subject. He asks what she does. He listens to the answer in the way that people rarely listen to answers, like the information is actually useful to him, like he is storing it somewhere he will be able to find it later. His name is Jordan. She does not fall in love that night. But she feels something. A small crack in a wall she did not know she had built. 3 dates. Coffee. Dinner. Another dinner that turns into a 3-hour walk that turns into a park bench at midnight talking about nothing that could be easily summarized and everything that mattered. Within 3 months they are official. Within a year they share an apartment. Within 2 years everyone in their circle is asking the question. And Jordan answers it one evening at the restaurant where they had their first dinner, by getting down on one knee while the table next to them starts applauding before he has even finished speaking. Maya cries. Not the kind of crying that requires explanation. The kind that arrives when something you wanted so completely finally becomes real. She says yes. She means it entirely. And in the front row at their wedding 2 years later, standing in a matching navy suit with a smile that does not quite reach his eyes, is the man she has been calling Jordan's best friend for 6 years. Alex Reed. She likes Alex. She has always liked Alex. Everyone likes Alex. She has never once considered that Alex might be the reason her wedding is about to end. Alex Reed does not bring women to things. Maya notices this, has noticed it for years, and filed it somewhere in the back of her mind under things that are none of my business and left it there. In 6 years, not a single girlfriend. Not a single date mentioned. Not a single time his phone buzzes and his face does something that suggests someone romantic is on the other end. When Maya asked him once playfully at a dinner party when he was planning to find someone, he said simply, "I am not really looking." She thought he was focused on building the business. She thought he valued his independence. She thought he was the kind of man who would get there eventually and was simply in no rush. She did not think he already found someone. She did not think he found someone a decade ago. She did not think that someone is the man I am about to marry. Alex Reed grew up in a city that was not quite large enough to be anonymous. His father left when he was 12. Not dramatically, just gradually went elsewhere for work and called on birthdays and became a voice on a phone rather than a presence in a house. His mother was a teacher who bought classroom supplies with her own money and stayed late for the children who needed more time than the curriculum allowed. She was also sick. The kind of sick that does not resolve quickly. The kind that requires someone in the household to learn, earlier than any child should have to, what it means to be responsible for another person. Alex learned to cook at 9, manage bills at 11, carry the household at 12. He learned something else early too. There was a boy in his class in 8th grade, the way he moved, the way he spoke, the colors he wore. And Alex watched what the other children did to that boy. Not with anger but with the specific terror of recognition. He saw himself in that boy. And he understood with perfect clarity what happened to people like them if they were visible. So he was not visible. He dated girls. He went to school events. He performed the version of himself that the world had decided was acceptable with such consistency that eventually the performance became the only version anyone could see. He was still performing when he arrived at university. A duffel bag and a backpack and a quiet way of standing in doorways like he was waiting for permission to enter. Jordan Cole was already in the room. Top bunk. His mother had labeled every box. His father had carried everything up 3 flights without complaint. Jordan's mother saw Alex standing in the doorway and said, "Are you hungry? I made too much food." She handed him a container of rice and stew. Alex said thank you, sat on the bottom bunk, ate in silence. Jordan watched him. Not with suspicion. With interest. There was something about Alex's stillness that Jordan could not name and could not look away from. A sense that this person had stories he was not telling and that those stories were worth hearing. Jordan wanted to hear them. They became friends the way people become friends when they are both running from themselves, quickly, completely, with a desperation that neither of them could have named at the time. Same classes. Same late nights in the library. Same terrible dining hall pizza at 2 in the morning. By Thanksgiving, Jordan was calling Alex his best friend. By Christmas, he was driving Alex home because Alex had nowhere to go. By spring of their 2nd year, they were in Alex's car outside the library at night while it rained. And Jordan had just ended a relationship with a woman he could not love no matter how much he wanted to, and Alex said, "Are you okay?" And Jordan said no. And then Jordan kissed him. Not as an accident. Not impulsively. The kiss of a man who has been holding something in for 2 years and can no longer hold it. Alex kissed him back. They did not speak for a long time after. They sat in the car holding hands, watching rain move down the windshield, knowing that everything had changed and also knowing that outside that car, nothing could change at all. Jordan's father was a deacon in their church. His mother asked about grandchildren at every family dinner. His world, the world he had been raised inside, the world that had given him everything, had no language for what he was. The word simply did not exist in any sentence anyone around him had ever said with warmth. Alex's situation was no simpler. His mother. His faith. The fragility of a life that had already cost him so much simply to assemble. So they hid. Behind business meetings. Behind late nights labeled as work. Behind the words best friend and business partner. which are both true and both are also code for something the world was not yet permitted to see. They built a company on top of their secret. They built a life inside the closet. They told themselves it was temporary. The years passed. And then Jordan's family started asking. And Jordan made a decision. He sat Alex down and said, "My family expects this. I have to give them something that looks like what they're expecting. I can't keep lying to them." And Alex said, "So you're going to lie to her instead?" Jordan did not answer. Because there was no answer. There was no version of the truth that did not cost something catastrophic to someone he loved. Alex told himself he could do it. He told himself he would survive watching Jordan marry someone else. He told himself the business and the friendship and the stolen moments would be enough. He was wrong. But he told himself he was right for long enough that he could keep showing up. To the engagement party. To the wedding venue tours. To the bachelor party where he made a toast about Jordan deserving happiness that was true. And also the most painful thing he had ever been asked to say in public. He stood at the altar as the best man with the smile that did not quite reach his eyes. And Maya saw that smile. For half a second at the ceremony she noticed it. And then someone hugged her and the moment passed. She would not forget it until 2 o'clock in the morning, alone in her apartment, replaying everything frame by frame. She remembers specific moments. Not the way you remember things you understood at the time. The way you remember things that only make sense after the key arrives. Those images that sit in the back of your mind, formless and unresolved, until one cold moment of clarity organizes them into a sentence you cannot stop reading. A concert. 2 years into the relationship. Jordan's idea. An indie band Maya had never heard of. The three of them went Jordan, Maya, Alex. They stood in the crowd shoulder to shoulder because the venue was packed and there was nowhere else to stand. During a slow song, Maya glanced sideways. Jordan's hand was resting on the small of Alex's back. Not across his shoulders, the way people drape arms over friends at concerts. Not a brief touch. Just resting there. Natural. The way your hand goes somewhere it already knows. Maya looked away. Told herself it was nothing. Told herself the crowd made everyone closer than usual. Buried it. A dinner party at their apartment. Jordan had cooked. He loved cooking for people. He said feeding someone was the most direct form of care. Maya was in the kitchen helping, turned around to reach the refrigerator, and saw Jordan standing behind Alex, adjusting his collar. Straightening it. Precisely. The way a spouse straightens a collar before photographs. Alex did not flinch. Did not step away. He stood completely still while Jordan's hands fixed his collar, and his face was the face of someone receiving something ordinary. Maya laughed. Said, "You two are like an old married couple." Jordan laughed. Big laugh. The kind of laugh that fills a room and closes a conversation. Alex smiled and said nothing. Maya buried that too. She noticed that Alex was always available. Always there when Jordan needed someone at midnight. Always the person Jordan called first. Always the one who showed up to help set up before a party and stayed to clean after everyone else had gone home. She thought, Jordan is lucky to have such a loyal friend. She thought, this is what real friendship looks like. She did not think, this is not friendship. She noticed that Jordan and Alex had inside jokes that went back a decade and that some of those jokes had a texture she could not quite access. A private language that predated her and did not require her and did not feel diminished by her presence but simply existed independently of it, like a room in a house she had never been given the key to. She noticed the business trips. She noticed they went together more often than apart. She told herself this was practical. They ran the company together. It made sense that they traveled together. She noticed that Alex never dated. She asked once. He said, "I am not really looking." She accepted that. She noticed 100 things. Filed each one somewhere she could not find again. Because she was not looking for a pattern. She was looking for a life. And her life was Jordan. And Jordan was good. And Jordan was kind. And Jordan looked at her with a smile she had fallen in love with, and told her things she believed and made her feel safe in a way she had not felt safe before him. So she chose not to look more closely. This is the part of the story she finds hardest to talk about. Not the kiss. Not the secret. Not the decade of lies that were kept by multiple people who claimed to love her. The part she finds hardest is this. She was not foolish. She was not blind. She noticed. She just did not trust what she noticed. Because she had been taught, the way every woman is taught, slowly and completely and without anyone meaning to teach it, that noticing things about the man you love is paranoia. That questioning is insecurity. That the cost of pushing on something that might be nothing is too high, and the benefit of staying quiet is peace, and peace is what relationships require. So she stayed quiet, and the secret stayed safe, and the wedding date was set. Maya wakes up at 6 a.m. on her wedding day. Not from an alarm. From her body, which has been awake for an hour and has simply stopped pretending otherwise. Jordan is asleep beside her. This is the last morning they will sleep in this apartment as unmarried people. Tomorrow they will wake up somewhere else. A hotel suite, the beginning of a honeymoon. A new version of the life they have been building together. She looks at him in the early light. The rise and fall of his chest. The small scar on his chin from a childhood bicycle accident he told her about on their third date. The way his lips part slightly when he breathes. She thinks, I get to wake up next to this face for the rest of my life. She smiles. Gets out of bed. She had asked her sister the night before to bring one thing to the hotel suite. A letter. She had written it the previous evening, before the rehearsal dinner, before the champagne and the speeches and the last night of being someone's almost wife. She had written it at the kitchen table with a specific pen she had bought for the purpose. A small, deliberate ceremony for herself because she believed in marking things. The letter said this. She still knows every word. Maya, today you become a wife. Not just someone's partner. Not just someone's other half. A wife. You have loved this man for 6 years. You have chosen him every day, including the days that were difficult, including the days you were not entirely sure. Today is not the beginning of your love. It is the declaration of it. Remember why you said yes. You deserve this. You deserve him. You deserve joy. Go get married. She reads it twice in the hotel suite in the chair by the window, while her sister arranges pastries on a plate and her mother argues with the florist on the phone and her best friend Tasha does her own makeup in the mirror because she does not trust anyone else with her face. She folds the letter. Puts it in her bag. Does not know yet that she will never read it again. Across the hotel, in a different room on a different floor, the men are also waking up. Jordan's brother. 2 cousins. An old friend from university. And Alex. Alex is in the corner of the groom's suite when Jordan wakes up. Sweatpants. A hoodie. Phone in his hand. He looks like a man who has not slept well and is doing his best not to show it. Jordan's brother is already cracking jokes. Someone brought champagne. Not yet open but present as a promise. Someone else is attempting to fix a button that has come loose from Jordan's suit jacket. The room is warm with the specific chaos of men, who are not accustomed to being organized, all being organized for the same purpose. Jordan smiles at his brother's joke. Looks over at Alex. Alex looks up from his phone. They look at each other for a moment. Then Jordan's brother says something else and Jordan laughs and the moment closes. This is 9 a.m. The ceremony is at 2 p.m. Room 217 is at 4:30. They have 5.5 hours to stop themselves. They do not stop themselves. The ceremony is beautiful. This is important. Maya needs you to know that. She says it now, 3 years later, with the clarity of someone who has processed a thing completely enough to be honest about all of it, including the parts that make the betrayal more difficult, not less. The ceremony was beautiful. And she was happy. Genuinely, completely, with no asterisk happy. The venue is a hotel with glass walls that face south, so the afternoon light comes through at an angle that makes everything look golden and warm. White flowers on every surface, roses and lilies and small green trailing vines that Maya's mother had said were too expensive and then quietly approved the day before the wedding. 150 guests in white cushioned wooden chairs. The aisle is covered in something that crinkles softly underfoot, like walking through a dream that has not yet decided whether to be a good one. Maya walks down that aisle with her father. He is wearing a gray suit bought specifically for this occasion. He squeezes her hand every few steps. She squeezes back. And then she sees Jordan, standing at the altar in navy blue. No tie. He had changed his mind about the tie at the last minute and she had agreed because he was right. His smile is the one she fell in love with. The one that made her forget she was nervous, that made the room smaller in a way that felt like safety rather than confinement. She thinks, this is my person. She does not know that his smile in this moment is divided. Not dishonest, not entirely, but divided. Because he is looking at her and feeling something real. He does love her. Not the way a husband should love a wife. But she is real to him. She has been real to him. The guilt of what he is doing is real too, sitting behind his smile like a second face. Pastor Grace, a family friend, a woman who has known Jordan's parents for 2 decades, speaks about love, about the choice of it, about the fact that love is not a feeling that arrives and stays without effort but a decision made repeatedly, in small moments over years. Maya cries. Jordan does not cry. She assumes he is holding it together. She has always found his composure comforting. They exchange rings. She has written her vows, personal, specific, full of the details that make a life with someone feel real. He has written his too. He reads the first few lines and then continues from memory. She thinks he has practiced. Now she wonders what he was afraid of reading aloud. They kiss. The room erupts. Maya looks at the guests and sees her mother with both hands pressed to her face. Her father nodding the way fathers nod when something they wanted for their child has finally arrived. Her sister making a sound that is somewhere between a scream and a sob. And she sees Alex. Front row. Navy suit matching Jordan's because he is the best man and that is what best men wear. He is smiling. But the smile is the one Maya noticed once before and filed away and never found again. The smile that does not reach his eyes. The smile of a man holding something back. She sees it for a half second. Then Tasha grabs her into a hug and the moment disappears. She will find it again at 2 a.m. Alone. Rewinding. But not yet. For now she is just a bride. Just a woman who got married. Just someone standing at the beginning of what she believes is forever. Forever lasts 2 hours. Before the door opens. Before Maya's heels click down that corridor. Before everything ends. Let me take you somewhere else. Not the hotel. Not the wedding. A university dorm room. 10 years earlier. 2 boys who do not yet have language for what they are about to become to each other. Jordan Cole grew up inside a world that had very precise ideas about what a man was. His father built things with his hands and called it dignity. His mother organized Sunday dinners and called it love. His church organized both into a framework that held everything in place and left no room for anything the framework had not already accounted for. He had never heard anyone say the word gay in his house. Not in anger. Not in love. Just not at all. As though the concept required a different language that no one in his family had learned. He arrived at university with his mother's labeled boxes and his father's quiet pride and the specific private desperation of a young man who has been living inside a story that does not fit him and cannot yet name the problem. Alex was already in the room. Jordan watched him eat in silence and thought, there is something in this person that I want to understand. It took a year for Jordan to understand what that something was. He lay in the top bunk at 2 a.m. and said the words to himself, to the ceiling without sound. I think I love him. He waited for the ceiling to fall. It didn't. Alex sat up. Said, you're breathing loud. You okay? Jordan said, yeah. Just thinking. Alex said, about what? Long pause. Jordan said, you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Alex was quiet for a long time. Then he said, every day. This was not a confession. It was not a declaration. It was just 2 people in the dark admitting that the script they had been given did not fit. And that was enough. For that night. The kiss came in the spring. 2nd year. Alex's car. Rain on the windows. Jordan had just ended a relationship with a woman he could not love and Alex had driven out to get him, and they had been sitting in the parked car for 40 minutes not saying anything useful. Jordan kissed him. Alex kissed him back. They sat in that car holding hands and watching the rain for an hour. Neither of them spoke. Because what was there to say? The world outside the car had not changed. Jordan's father was still a deacon. Alex's mother was still sick. The church was still the church. The family was still the family. They hid. Of course they hid. They built the hiding into the structure of their lives so thoroughly that it became load-bearing. Remove it and everything collapses. They built a business together. They traveled together. They created a life inside the only space available to them. Invisibility. And then the years passed. And Jordan's mother started showing his photograph to her friends' daughters. And Jordan's father started talking about carrying on the family name. And Jordan felt the walls of his own life pressing inward. He sat Alex down. He said, I have to give my family something that looks like what they expect. I can't keep making them wait for a version of me that they're never going to be allowed to know. Alex said, so you're going to lie to someone who hasn't done anything wrong? Jordan did not answer. Because what could he say? Every option cost something irreplaceable. Every door, open, closed another one permanently. Alex told Jordan he could not do it. Jordan said, then tell me what to do. Give me an option I can actually take. I will do anything. Alex had no option. So he stayed. He stayed through the introduction, the early dates, the relationship becoming serious, the engagement. He told himself he would get used to it. He told himself love was not ownership. He told himself Jordan's happiness, in whatever form it could take, was enough. He was wrong. But he told himself he was right with enough consistency that he could keep showing up. He kept showing up until the morning of the wedding. The night before, he stood in his hotel room with Jordan's number on his phone screen for a long time. He wanted to say, do not do this. Come with me. Somewhere else. Somewhere we can be real. He put the phone down. He went to the wedding. He stood at the altar. He smiled with the part of his face that was visible to the guests. And he waited. And Jordan found him in the groom's suite at 4:30. And Alex did not pull away. Because he had been saying goodbye to Jordan for 10 years. One more time he told himself did not matter. He was wrong about that too. The cocktail hour begins at 3 p.m. Maya is in the middle of it. Swarmed. A second cousin she has not seen in years. An aunt who wants a photo. A friend of Jordan's parents who keeps calling her by the wrong name. And she keeps gently correcting and the woman keeps forgetting. She smiles. She hugs. She poses. But she wants Jordan. She asks her sister. Where is he? Her sister shrugs. Groom's suite probably. Getting ready for speeches. Maya nods. Goes back to the room. Poses for more photographs. The photographer needs them by the window. The photographer needs them by the flowers. The photographer needs them in 7 different arrangements with 7 different groupings of people, who all have to be located and assembled and convinced to look natural. By the time dinner is announced, Maya has not seen Jordan in 40 minutes. She looks at his chair at the head table. Empty. She looks at the seat next to his. Alex's seat. Also empty. She asks Jordan's brother quietly. Where is he? His brother's face does something she cannot immediately name. Not worry. Not guilt. Something in between. He says, I'll go get him. He leaves. Returns in 2 minutes. Says he's coming. Give him a minute. What Jordan's brother does not say. What he will not say until months later, when enough time has passed that honesty feels survivable, is that he walked to room 217 and heard something through the door and turned around and walked back without looking. Because he did not want to know. Because knowing would have made him responsible. Because not knowing was easier than everything else. Dinner begins. First course. Maya picks at her salad. Her stomach is tight in a way she cannot explain. She tells herself it is wedding nerves. She tells herself the day has been long and she has not eaten enough and her body is registering the accumulated weight of 6 months of planning finally arriving at its conclusion. She looks at Jordan's empty chair. She looks at Alex's empty chair. She excuses herself. Her mother says, Where are you going? Maya says, bathroom. She walks out of the reception hall. Down a corridor. Past the bathroom. Past the coat check. Up a short flight of stairs. Her heels on the floor. Click, click, click. She tries to walk quieter. She does not know why. Room 217 is at the end of a hall. She knows the number because she was the one who put the welcome basket there the night before. Sparkling water. Snacks. A card that said, Tomorrow you become my husband. I cannot wait. The door is not fully closed. 3 or 4 inches of gap. She hears something through it. Not words. Not laughter. A different kind of sound. She puts her hand on the door. Pushes. Slowly. The room is dim. Curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. There is a couch. A table with water bottles. A full-length mirror in the corner where Jordan's suit had been hanging this morning. And 2 people. Jordan is on his knees. Alex is standing. Their faces are 3 inches apart. Jordan's hand is on Alex's face. Not grabbing, holding. The way you hold something you are afraid of losing. Alex's hand is on Jordan's chest. Right over his heart. Their lips are touching. Not briefly. Not by accident. Not in any way that could be reframed into something other than what it is. Maya stands in the doorway. She does not cry. She does not move. She does not make a sound. She watches. For what feels like a long time but is probably 5 seconds. And then Jordan turns his head. His eyes find hers across the room. For one moment, just one, before anything else arrives, before shame and panic and the scramble for explanation. She sees his face do something she has never seen it do. It softens. His shoulders drop. The weight of 10 years releases in one quiet exhale. And Maya understands. She understands everything. Not just the kiss. Not just Alex. Not just the secret. She understands that the man she loved was always performing. That the performance was built for other people, for his family, for his church, for a world that did not permit him to be real. That she was part of the performance. Not loved into it, but chosen for it. Because she was steady and kind and would not push too hard on the things that did not add up. She was not the woman he chose. She was the woman he hid behind. Alex steps back. Straightens his jacket. Meets her eyes and does not look away. He does not apologize. There is nothing to apologize for that an apology could reach. Jordan stands slowly. Opens his mouth. Maya raises one hand. Not a slap. Just stop. She turns around. Closes the door. Walks back down the corridor. Click. 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 She stops in the bathroom. Looks at herself in the mirror. The dress. The hair. The makeup that someone spent 2 hours applying. She fixes what the tears have done. Walks back into the reception hall. Sits down at the head table. Her mother leans over and says, "There you are. You look pale. You okay?" Maya squeezes her hand. Says, "I'm fine. Just tired." She is not fine. But she is not done yet. The DJ announces the first dance. The room shifts. Guests set down their forks. The photographer positions himself. 150 people orient toward the head table. Maya stands. Jordan is standing across the table. He has been there for 20 minutes now. Someone found him, someone brought him back. He has been sitting in his chair eating nothing and looking at the tablecloth. When he sees Maya stand, he looks up. His face is doing many things at once and none of them are composure. Maya walks to the DJ booth. The DJ smiles. "Ready?" She says, "Give me the microphone." He hesitates for a moment, then hands it over. He has been doing this job long enough to know that when the bride asks for the microphone at a moment that was not in the timeline he was given, the best response is compliance. The room goes quiet. Not because anyone asked them to, because people notice. The bride is holding the microphone. The DJ is standing to one side. The first dance has not begun. Something is different. 150 people look at Maya. Her mother's expression is one of excited confusion. Her sister thinks something sweet is about to happen. Her father is watching his daughter the way he has watched her entire life, with total attention, waiting to understand. Jordan is watching her. His face for the first time all day is completely honest. He is afraid. Maya holds the microphone. She looks at the white flowers. She looks at the champagne glasses. She looks at the food that has not been finished. She looks at Jordan. She says 7 words. Clearly. Without a tremor. Without anger, not because she does not feel anger, but because anger would give him something to respond to, and she has decided she is done giving him things. The wedding is over. Ask the groom why. She places the microphone on the table. Not slammed. Not thrown. Placed. The way you put something down when you are finished with it and do not intend to pick it up again. She walks out. Her sister runs after her. Maya, what happened? Maya, what did he do? Maya, stop. Maya does not stop. Her father catches her at the elevator. He takes one look at her face and understands that something has happened that will require more than this corridor to contain. He holds her. She lets him. For a long time she lets him hold her without saying anything. Then she steps back. Gets in the elevator. Goes down to the lobby. She does not have her phone. Does not have her car. Does not have her keys, they are in Jordan's jacket pocket. She has nothing. Not even her shoes, which she left somewhere. She walks through the lobby of the hotel in her wedding dress and bare feet. The concierge asks if she needs assistance. She says, "A taxi, please." He calls one. She gets in. Gives her address. Goes home alone. She sits in the back of the taxi watching the city past the windows. The sun is setting. The sky is doing the specific orange-pink-purple thing it does on evenings that have no idea how significant they are. She thinks about the letter she wrote this morning. Today you become a wife. She was a wife for approximately 4 hours. She does not cry in the taxi. She does not cry in the elevator. She does not cry when she turns on the lights in her apartment and sees the wedding decorations, the garland she hung last week, the vase of flowers on the kitchen counter, the champagne in the refrigerator that she had been planning to open when they came home from the honeymoon. She does not cry when she takes off the dress. Does not cry when she washes her face. Does not cry when she gets into bed. She cries at 2 a.m. When Jordan's sister texts, "I am so sorry. I did not know how to tell you. I did not know how to tell you." Not, "I didn't know how to tell you." She lies in the dark and reads that sentence 5 times. And understands that this is the actual betrayal. Not the kiss. Not the secret. Not the 10 years of hiding. The fact that people who loved her knew something was wrong. Felt something was off. Noticed the things she had noticed and filed away, and chosen to trust rather than investigate. And none of them told her. Not one. Jordan calls the next morning. Maya does not answer. He calls again. She does not answer. He texts, "Please let me explain." She types back, "There is no explanation." She means it. He shows up at her apartment 3 days later. Jeans. A hoodie. No cologne. The specific smallness of a man who has been stripped of the performance. Her sister is there. Tasha is there. Her father drove 4 hours because Jordan's mother called him, crying, asking him to ask Maya to please answer the phone. Jordan stands in the doorway. He says, "I'm sorry." Maya says, "For what part?" He has no answer. Because the answer would require a speech he has not yet been able to write, one that accounts for 10 years of using a person, 6 years of lying to her face, a wedding planned and executed while Alex Reed's number sat in a secret app on his phone. Sorry does not have a long enough reach. Maya closes the door. She does not slam it. She places it in its frame the way she placed the microphone on the table at the reception. She is done. Alex leaves the city eventually. Not immediately. He tries to salvage the business for a few weeks, tries to move through his days like a man who has not just watched everything explode. But the business is Jordan's. The name. The connections. The money. Alex has spent a decade as Jordan's shadow and has, in that time, forgotten how to stand in the sun alone. He moves to a different city. He comes out to his mother. She does not speak to him for a year. Then calls on his birthday. Maya hears this through mutual people and feels something complicated about it that she does not name for a long time. It is not sympathy exactly. It is not indifference. It is the specific discomfort of understanding someone's pain without wanting to carry it. Jordan's business does not survive. Not because Maya does anything. She posts nothing. Tells nothing to no one outside her immediate circle. She does not go to the press. She does not share the story on social media. She does not perform her grief for anyone. But secrets have their own momentum. Someone talked. A cousin. A hotel employee. Someone who saw something that night and eventually said it to someone else who said it to someone else, and by the time it arrived at Jordan's investors it had enough mass to matter. Investors got nervous. Partners asked questions. The deals that were scheduled to close, they did not close. Jordan lost the business. Then the apartment. Then the car. He moved back into his childhood bedroom. A 30-year-old man. In the room where his mother had raised him to be someone he never was. Maya does not gloat. Does not celebrate. Does not even think about it very much. She is too busy surviving. The first month she barely leaves the apartment. She goes to work because she is the kind of person who goes to work. She comes home. She eats whatever Tasha has left in the refrigerator. Tasha, who has appointed herself the keeper of Maya's survival, and takes the role with a seriousness that is the most genuine form of love Maya has ever experienced. Every Sunday, Tasha makes Maya come to brunch. Even when Maya says she is not hungry. Even when Maya sits across the table for an hour and says almost nothing. Tasha sits with her. That is all. Does not push. Does not fill the silence. Just shows up every week and sits across from her friend and makes sure Maya knows that someone is still there. That is what friendship actually looks like. Not grand gestures. Not dramatic interventions. Just showing up consistently in the ordinary hours until the person you love can find their way back to themselves. Maya starts therapy in the second month. Not because she is broken, she says this carefully, precisely to anyone who asks, but because she is intelligent enough to understand that what happened to her left marks she cannot find on her own. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Osei, does not treat Maya like a victim. She treats her like a person who experienced something real, and is now tasked with deciding what she becomes on the other side of it. That distinction saves Maya more than the sessions themselves. She stops wearing makeup for a while. Not as a statement, just as a measure of how much energy she has available. Some days the energy exists, some days it does not. She stops performing wellness before she has achieved it. She moves to a smaller apartment. She cannot afford the old one alone. Jordan had been contributing to the rent and that contribution ended the day she closed the door. The smaller apartment has a window that faces east. She does not love it at first. Then she starts waking up early and sitting by that window with tea and she starts to love it very much. The light in the morning is specific and kind and makes no demands. Takes a full year. Not to be healed, she does not use that word. Does not believe healing is a destination you arrive at so much as a direction you keep choosing. But a year for the weight to shift from something that presses down from above to something she carries beside her. Present but not crushing. She gets a promotion at work in month 8. She is surprised by how much it means to her. Then she understands it means something because she did it herself. Nothing borrowed. Nothing gifted. Nothing that requires someone else to stay. She goes to dinner with a new friend, a woman she met through a colleague, and they are at the restaurant for 3 hours and Maya laughs 4 times in a way that is not performed, and on the walk home she notices this and it makes her stop on the pavement for a moment. Laughing. Real laughing. Without needing to check whether anyone else found it appropriate. She had forgotten she could do that. She had not known what she was forgetting. People ask her if she hates him. She thinks about this carefully every time. Not because the answer is complicated but because the question deserves an honest response and honesty about this particular thing requires precision. No. She does not hate Jordan. She understands something about Jordan now that she could not have understood before. Something that took distance in therapy and the specific clarity that arrives when you are no longer inside a thing and can see its shape from the outside. Jordan was not cruel in the way cruelty usually presents itself. He was not a man who decided to hurt her. He was a man who was terrified, who had been terrified since he was old enough to understand what he was, and who made every decision available to him from inside that terror. And none of those decisions had her fully in mind because he had never been fully in his own mind long enough to be truly present with anyone. She does not excuse this. But she understands it. She does not hate Alex. She tried. For about 3 months she tried very hard. But hating Alex requires believing he acted with a cruelty that was deliberate, and the more she learns about closeted lives, about the cost of invisibility, about the specific damage done to people who are raised inside a framework that has no room for them, the harder hatred becomes to sustain. She does not forgive either of them. She is clear about this. Forgiveness is not something she is working toward. Forgiveness, as she has come to understand it, is not the same as understanding. She understands them. She does not forgive them. Both things are true and both things can occupy the same space in a person. What she does not understand, what she will not excuse, what she returns to at 2 a.m. not with grief anymore but with a cold, focused anger that is the cleanest emotion she has, is the silence of the people around her. Jordan's sister. Who suspected? Who texted I did not know how to tell you. The friends who noticed the way Jordan and Alex looked at each other and said nothing. The family who saw something off and chose comfort over honesty. Every person who could have told her something, anything, and chose instead to protect their own peace. That is the betrayal she has not yet found a clean way to hold. Because it did not belong to one person. It belonged to a community. A circle of people who claimed to love her and who chose, collectively, to let her walk down an aisle toward a lie. She does not speak to most of them anymore. Not dramatically. Not with a confrontation or a speech. Just gradually, specifically, the people who had information and kept it are no longer in her life. She has made room for the people who tell the truth, who show up on Sunday, who bring food they did not need to bring, who sit across a table and wait while someone they love finds their way back. Here's what Maya knows now. Love is not supposed to require you to disappear. If you are shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's hidden story, if you are performing peace because you sense that asking the real questions might cost you the relationship, you are not in a relationship. You are in a shelter someone else built for reasons that have nothing to do with you. You deserve to be chosen, not performed at, not hidden behind, not loved in the way that requires you to be convenient. Chosen, deliberately, by someone who is fully present, by someone who is not hiding a parallel life in a secret app on a phone, by someone whose shoulders do not drop with relief when the truth finally arrives, because the truth is not a relief. The truth should be something you have already been living. You deserve that. And if you are not receiving it, if something in your life right now has the particular texture of a thing that does not quite add up, if there is a door you have been choosing not to push, this story is not a warning. It is a mirror. Look into it. Not because the worst will always happen, but because you deserve to know. Maya still has the letter. She did not burn it, did not throw it away, did not perform the ritual of destruction that grief sometimes calls for. She kept it. She keeps it in a drawer in the apartment with the east-facing window. She does not read it often, but she knows it is there. And knowing it is there is enough. Today you become a wife. She was a wife for 4 hours. And then she became something she did not have a word for at the time. She has a word for it now. Free. Not the free of someone who has escaped something, although that is part of it. The free of someone who understands completely what she is worth and what she will not accept and what she is building. With her own hands, in her own name, in a smaller apartment with a window that faces east and a friend who shows up every Sunday. She does not need the story of Jordan and Alex to end a specific way for her story to end well. She does not need him to suffer for her to heal. She does not need him to understand what he did for her to move forward. She does not need acknowledgement or apology, or the particular justice of watching someone who hurt you receive exactly what they deserve. She just needs to keep going. And she is going. The best revenge is not a confrontation. It is not a posted story or a dramatic exit or a speech in front of 150 people, although that part she does not regret. The best revenge is becoming someone so genuinely, undeniably okay that the story of what happened to you is no longer the most interesting thing about you. That is where Maya is now. Almost there. Getting there. Beat. Some secrets do not die quietly. They wait. And then they take everything down with them when they fall. But here is the part nobody tells you. When the secret falls, when the door opens and the whole thing comes down, it does not only take the things you thought you were losing. It also takes the weight. The specific, invisible, accumulated weight of living inside a story that was never fully true. And when that weight is gone, when you walk out of that hotel in your bare feet and get into a taxi and go home alone and lock the door behind you, you are not starting over. You are starting. Long pause. Tell me where in the world you are watching from tonight. And tell me, in the comments, which moment in this story you will not be able to stop thinking about. Because this community reaches further than any of us realizes. And someone watching right now needed to hear exactly this story at exactly this moment. Thank you for staying until the end. Room 217. A door. A look. 7 words. The wedding is over. Ask the groom why. And a woman who walked out of a hotel in her bare feet and never looked back. Build something they cannot reach. Build a name they cannot say without remembering what they lost. And never, not once, apologize for surviving. See you in the next one.